Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm bringing to you guys is, of course, everything that you need to know for this January Mutators update, and of course, it is a big one. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of go over all of the main points, give you guys all of the kind of big punchline things that you need to know, and of course, most of this stuff I have gone over in depth week by week as I release the patch notes for the PTR, and of course, as always, I will leave this link in the description for these specific patch notes if you guys want to read them in depth for yourself, get every little nuance and such like that, then of course you can do that. But what I'm going to do is generally go over the main important things and pick out the specific things that are really going to impact the game the most that you should know about before jumping into this update, because obviously at the time of recording this we are waiting for the server to go back up, so if you're in the wait, hopefully it goes quick for us, and if you're watching it after the servers have gone back up, hopefully you're enjoying the update, and let's crack on with this one. Now make sure before we jump into this guys, you do drop a subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. We're less than 100 subscribers off 13,000, which is our goal for right now on YouTube, so if you could help me reach that, that would be absolutely amazing. I do upload every single day and I'd love to have you here as part of my channel community. Without further ado, let's jump into this. It's a big one. So we've got Expedition Mutators, we've got the Umbral Shards and more. Now a lot of you guys will know already about the Mutators being in. You'll know kind of what they are. Obviously, you need a mutated tuning orb to get in. These are crafted once per week from the stone cutting table, and you can also buy one once per week from the faction vendor, which means you get a total of 2 per week, crafted one and purchased one per player. Obviously, group of 5, if you get the same 5 to do them all, that is 10. Now, something which I will be confirming as soon as I can get hands-on with this update in-game for you guys is whether you can get mutated orb drops from the dungeons as rewards once you complete them or not. So I'll work on that for you guys, see if that's a possibility, because that happened for me during the PTR on some of the higher levels. So potentially after you get maybe past 5 or 6, it's a drop chance or it's just a random chance across the board. So I'll work on finding that information out for you guys. But obviously, you'll go to the normal expeditions. Will, however, have needed to completed these prior to entering mutation. So you'll have needed to do Dynasty, Genesis, or Lazarus, whichever one procs first for us. They are on a weekly rotation, so they'll change once per week. And of course, then you can go into the mutations. You'll have to do 1 in order to unlock the second, then second to unlock the third, and so on and so forth. And of course, you will need to get the required threshold, so either, you know, a certain amount of time, etc., to get silver or above, and then that puts you onto the next stage. If you don't get silver or gold, then you do not get promotion to the next stage, and therefore you'll be stuck at the stage before if you can't do it in bronze. This can actually be beneficial in certain places, so obviously the more Umbral Shards you get, the higher up you go. So if you get bronze on 8 rather than doing gold on 7, you actually get more. So stuff like that where you want to just keep going as high as you can and try and just grind out the top 1, as long as you can complete it, of course. So that'll be kind of where most players are sat for the first few days. Obviously they're talking about the scoring and advancements in detail there, so if you want to have a look into exactly how it's calculated, essentially it's timed. It's the amount of kills you get, the amount of bosses that you kill, the amount of team wipes you get, so where everybody dies and you have to fully respawn, and the amount of individual respawns. So you really want to minimize on all the kind of imperfections and work on perfecting your run speed and also just the elegance of the run, so making sure you've got all the nuances right, nobody's going down, everybody's attacking the right targets at the right time to get it done quickly. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very fun, but it is going to be challenging, so look out for some guides in that in the future. Now, obviously, mutation effects are all going to be elemental. We know that we've got ice, fire, void, and nature, and with those, we've got both the aversion sets, which gives you 4% protection per piece, so that stacks up to a total of 20% resistance if it's on each armor piece, which of course is going to be great for PvE, but also really, really good for PvP as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And alongside that as well, we have the attunement for each element, which gives us a plus 15% elemental damage to whichever element it is, every 2 seconds to your weapon's attacks, and that's on abilities, it's on auto attacks, it's on everything. So yeah, pretty big stuff, and again, PvE massive, PvP even bigger, so do keep your eyes peeled on those. I will bring you guys updates as soon as I can get hands-on with them, and I'm expecting both of those things to be by far best in slot, so do look out for those. Now obviously you've got curses the further up you go, and promotions to the enemies as well, which is other versions of the mutations alongside the elements, which make the enemies more powerful and the player not less powerful, but you know, you kind of get things happening to you. So here, curse mutations apply a dangerous effect to the player, forcing them to work together to overcome the curse's power. So for example, it'll give you everyone something like a weaken, and it'll give you chain lightning if you're nearby players, but it'll also mean that the weakest player in the group gets a cleanse bubble around them, so you have to go towards that player, but you will also damage them, which means healers, you're gonna have a rough time, and DPS you are, and also the tank. So yeah, nobody's getting out of this one scot-free. You've all got a big role to play, and it's going to be pretty challenging, and that is when you get up to those higher tiers that you get the curses, but they are worth it because the Umbral Shard rewards are massive. Now, with this as well, we've also seen some upgrades to the endgame system, and the main thing here is the Umbral system. This is where you are able to upgrade gear from 590 gear score all the way up to 625. Now, to unlock this, what you will need to do is get your expertise level up to the new cap, which is going to be 600. A lot of us right now 590, so you will need 5 or 6 of those gypsum casts if you've saved them up like I've been suggesting for the past couple of weeks. If you haven't, you'll need to get the drops, you'll need to make some casts, etc. Get yourself to 600 expertise, and when you have 600 expertise unlocked in a specific slot, you will then unlock access to the Umbral system in that slot, allowing you to progress the item past level 600. Now, please note here as well, if the item is 590 to 599, so it's not 600, you will still need to get your expertise to 600 in order to unlock the Umbral system for that slot. So, for example, if I have a 594 chestplate, I must get my expertise to 600 in order to get that from 594 to 600 and then 600 plus. So you can't do even the 590 to 600 gap without being 600 expertise. So certainly work on that as a priority. When you do get there, obviously, you will be able to then progress these up, and they do get an extra point at both 600 if it's not already there, so an extra attribute point on both the weapons and the armor. Armor and jewelry, of course, being a plus 25, and then the weapon being a plus 30. And then at 625, we get another additional attribute point, so again, weapons will be plus 31, and the armors and jewelry will be plus 26. So it actually works out to be very beneficial. Now as well, with this system, you are also going to be able to get yourself some Umbral Shards from the Gypsum casts. So you can get them obviously from Expedition Mutators, most efficient way. Opening Gypsum casts once the expertise of that type has reached 600. So you'll get some Umbral Shards for that. And particularly the higher up the expertise goes. So every time you increase an item's level to 601, 602, etc., that in turn brings the expertise with it. And so when you then open a Gypsum cast of something of a higher level of expertise, you will get more Umbral Shards. So if you are trying to purely go for the Umbral Shards, when you've got something to 625, open the cast for that one. Personally though, I would obviously do the expeditions because they're going to be quicker. And of course, crafting gear score 600 items once the new expertise cap of 600 has been reached will also award the player with some Umbral Shards as well, which is a nice little addition to keep crafters in a loop. And most of us that are doing crafting, PvP, PvE, just a bit of everything, we also get some extra ones there, which is really, really cool. Now in order to get your expertise from the 590 to 600, like I said there, you've got the Gypsum casts, and you've also got random open world bumps, so from elite zones, from boss drops, from expeditions, regular ones, etc. And then obviously you need your Umbral Shards past that point. They've also done a lot of tuning, quality of life improvements here. Main one being here, wherever you craft a gear score 600 item, if your expertise for that item type is under 600, it will trigger an expertise bump. This will be another great way for crafters to get their expertise to 600, in addition to the already released Emerald Gypsum from the Trace Skill Aptitude Reward containers. Yes, this is actually really, really good. It will essentially just bump you up, so even if you're crafting for other people and you trade the item on, it will still bump your expertise up until you hit the cap. So that's actually a really nice feature. I do like that a lot, and a lot of you will be pleased to know this point here. You can now craft Topaz Gypsum attunement potions at any Arcana station as well as any tier 5 camp, and the odds of getting the Topaz Gypsum when killing the enemies and attuned has been increased, which is a massive, massive bonus. This was a long time coming, so this is something really, really good. Now, we've also seen expedition changes. The main thing here, Tier 5 gear drops have been added to Dynasty Shipyard loot tables, and drop rates for named enemies in expeditions have been significantly increased. That is not just for the mutated ones, but it is also for the regular ones. Of course, Dynasty Shipyard, when you're doing the mutated ones, that's when you get the Tier 5 gear loot tables, not the regular ones, so do bear that in mind. And of course, you will now see mutation orbs as well as regular tuning orbs from your faction vendor able to purchase there as well. So you can see here for Amarine Excavation, Starstone Barrows, the Depths and Dynasty Shipyard can be purchased from the faction shop once per day, and Genesis and Lazarus can be purchased once per week, and that is the non-mutated version. So alongside the mutated versions, you also have access to all of those, but obviously it's just Dynasty Shipyard, Lazarus Instrumentality and Garden of Genesis, which are mutated right now. Overall, the cost for crafting the Expedition tuning keys or orbs has been reduced. The chisel costs have been reduced, the materials have been reduced. You can trade now chisels and also like your corrupted silver, corrupted lodestones, etc. And also the elemental and eternal hearts have had the moat reduction reduced. So overall, and the quintessences as well for the Undying Heart. So overall, you are going to see these be a lot more accessible. But, of course, once per week for those mutated ones still, so can't get too far ahead on those as it stands. Now, fast travel costs, another big one here. This has been reduced massively. They've also added shrines outside each of the expedition entrances, and you will see this across the board, particularly where your faction owns a territory. It's going to be very, very cheap for you to fast travel around the place, which is a lot better in my opinion. Hopefully, there's still a decent tax there on that, because I think it does provide some use to the Azoth other than crafting, but before it was very, very high, so it's always a good thing to see this reduced a little bit, and just basically add a bit more playability to the game rather than grinding up Azoth to be able to play it. So that kind of makes sense as long as there's still some there. Then also a big amount of notable fixes here. Again, mainly the big things that you're going to see here is what have essentially fixed some of the patching issues, fixed some lag issues, that kind of stuff, which is really, really good. Moving into combat and AI, we haven't seen anything specific on weapons, but what we have seen is a lot of AI tuning and fixing. Garden of Genesis specifically, they've fixed an issue preventing enemies from despawning after failing to defend the sapling, so this will now be redone. Again, this is really important for the mutations, for the time trial. Then you've seen mutation perks added, which I talked about before, which is the attunement and the conditioning. These are going to be really important. Watch out for them. Probably best in slot, like I said, and I will bring you guys an update as soon as I've got hands-on with these and tested them out. They've also seen some big changes to Outpost Rush, namely that the Brutes now cost 750 Azoth rather than 500. Summoning Stones are dropped on death, and each of the Summoning Stones has a rarity equipped with it. So Brutes are legendary, and the Bears and Wraiths are epic, which means that you'll see either a purple or a yellow goldy type bag on the floor when somebody dies, and if you know that they've done that, you can see it's the Summoning Stones. There's going to be a bit of a brawl for that pickup as well, and then chasing down the player that gets it, etc. So it's a whole nother level to this, and of course on top of that, we are going to see less Brutes, hopefully, with the raise in the expense of them, which is, of course, a really, really good thing. So we can't wait for that. Anybody that plays OPR knows how annoying the meatballs were as well. So again, we've seen some changes to that upcoming, but at least they are now more expensive for the time being until we see that properly fixed. Notable fixes, again, down here, you've seen a lot of stuff here. So fixed an issue that allowed musket and bows, light attacks to be activated underwater, fixed an issue that blocked bow from entering ADS when swapping to the bow while in musket sniper zoom, and loads of other things here which have just basically synced up and made the combat system more compact, less buggy type stuff, less quick cancels, more kind of you actually have to do the ability and then move on. Kind of like a funny one there, but obviously things like the bow cancelling shot where people were able to jump afterwards and cancel the shot has all been patched up. And we've also seen changes and fixes to all of the abilities that weren't working as they should. So there's a lot of stuff there. If you do want to read through it, some really important things, but generally just overall fixes to the weapons across the board, but no specific damage or kind of impact changes to how PvP will work. Just more smooth lining and streamlining of the abilities and working as they should do. So seems to be a good thing there. We'll see how it works in practice. And then, of course, we've got economy, progression, and loot. Here, you'll see a big one. Housing taxes back up from the 90% reduction, but the minimum band is 2.5 down from 5, and the maximum band is down to 10 from 20. Default is now 5% from 10. Bear in mind, any companies that did own a territory like ourselves, with the 90% reduction, if you had it on the full maximum percentage, like basically everybody did, you're going to see a big loss in profits, so you probably want to put this up to the higher end, because again, even though this is the higher end, it's still only at that, what it was before, 8-9% is still only what the minimum was before now, so, 5%, couple of percent higher than that. You're not looking too bad, so have to wait and see how it plays out in terms of return for the companies, but I think for most players this is a positive thing, because generally you're going to be taxed less, which is always a bonus. Now, aptitude rewards, the main thing you need to take from this is you are going to get less Azoth files from every single one that you get, every single cache, and they've completely removed them from the tier 1 aptitude gathering chests. So gathering chests tier 1 you won't get any, and each subsequent gathering and crafting and refining ones you will get less. So bear that in mind, they're not going to be as spammable now, so you might actually want to hold on to them for specific things. Although, if you're anything like me, you've probably got a stockpile of a couple hundred still sat in your inventory somewhere. So it might take you a while to go through them, but they are going to be significantly reduced. And in turn, the price on the market will gradually go up over the coming months. Now, again, you've just seen some fixes to crafting, mainly that things are working as they should do. Resources are actually being used. So if you had anything where you got given the resources back, that will no longer happen. Gear and loot, we've obviously seen the new implementation of the treasure hunt type thing, and the point here is to stimulate the post-holiday economy. We have added a limited time rare drop called Bag of Juniper Berries, which gives players coin and juniper berries. It has the potential to reward between 50 and 150 coin per acquisition and can be found 3 times per day. So chances are you get 150 to 450 coins per day just by playing. Pretty good. Juniper berries are used for crafting and cooking and such. So again, not the worst drop to get, but it's not that great. But the coins is kind of what we're after here. Similar to the presents, what we get in the silver and the 100 coins per day there. So you could get more, you could get less. Kind of a bit of a gamble, but I quite like that. Little added thing just to put a bit more raw money into the economy, which is always really, really nice. And then also you'll see here the progression has been sped up, so any mid-game players or newer players that are watching the channel, your leveling between 23 and 45 is sped up by 20%, so you should get there quicker. And then, of course, like I said before, chisels, corrupted fragments, shards, crystals, and lodestones are now tradable, so you can also trade those and sell them. You'll see them probably go for a decent price on the trading post to start with, but these will dwindle quickly because a lot of players have a lot of these saved up. And then you'll start to see people grinding the portals more often, so you might actually be able to find some groups, particularly if you're on a smaller server population. More people will be running those groups, so if you're trying to get your gypsum and you're trying to find a group for it, should be way more accessible with the trading of these because people will be able to make money off it, even if they don't want to make the keys. And of course, with the new mutations, lots of people will be wanting to make the keys. So, two-edged sword there. Both things are going to be positive. Pretty much good all round. Then you've seen some other stuff here to do with in-game stores, trading posts, notable fixes, etc. But all of that stuff is kind of nuancy. If you do want to read through it, like I said, I will leave it linked in the description for you guys so you can go ahead and read through this entire post. But hopefully that is everything that you need to know and everything covered that's important from this January Mutations update here in New World. Hopefully you all go off and enjoy this update. Let me know what your thoughts are on the changes down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. Other than that, if you are not already done so, please do make sure that you go down below and drop a subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of today's video, we are less than 100 subscribers away from 13,000, so if you could help me out in reaching that goal, that'll be absolutely amazing. And make sure you drop me a like on today's video if you found this useful, informative, quick little update covering everything you need to know, but not everything in the patch notes. Hopefully it's been useful to you guys. Other than that, that's going to be it, so thank you very much for your time, thank you for watching, and I will catch you again tomorrow with a brand new upload. Take care guys, and peace.